and there is also a lot of emet, but the emet is not so cool, and the emet is not so popular. Like our Tom in the story, he's emet. He is emet. Everything about him is truth, is beauty, and he's not cool. I'm not recording, but let me see. Oh, recording and taking notes. Okay. So maybe it is recording just in case I'm gonna record. Record to this computer. So so we're gonna start the Sipurei Maasiyot. The Chacham and the Tam were in the middle, but before that, I just wanna remind, in case you forgot, just listening to the stories of the Sipurei Maasiyot without going into depth, just listening to it is, it speaks to our neshama and it opens our heart. And Rabbi Nachman made these stories specifically for us, for our generation, to open our heart, to levaser besora, breslev, lev basar. Lev basar is make our heart open, right? And serve Hashem from a pounding heart with joy and excitement. And basar is also from the word besora. Besora is, if you have a word for besora, tell me. But besora is like what you have to say. So everyone, each one of us has something to say, has Torah within us that only we have. We only you have your Torah that I want to hear, and that the world needs to hear, and that you can impact certain people that I can't impact, or that nobody else can impact, and not even Rabbi Nachman could impact, but you could impact. And we all are such bishvili nivra olam, we're individual people, and we have, each one of us is so important, and we all have a besora, something to give to the world, and a Torah in a way that only we can give, and colors and light that only we can spread. So just listening, just reading, and these stories are in English also. There's a book in English. I just read it in Hebrew for you guys and interpret it, because I believe that the Hebrew in itself is heart opening, and the words in Hebrew and the letters are alive, and and that's why I read it in Hebrew and I interpret it. But just, even if we keep going over and saying the Hakdama, the story again, just so people who just joined this class understands, even just hearing it again and again and again, it's doing things that you can't understand. And for a second, don't think that when you come out of this class and you think like, oh, I knew that, that I shouldn't be looking at others and comparing myself to others, and I shouldn't, whatever, and that's not the way to be happy. And for a second, if you think that that's just what you're learning, if let's say, you learned that, or whatever it is that you learned from this story that felt practical, that's not just what you learned. You learned so much more than that, endless amount of that, because like we said, that these stories are malbushim, are dresses, are clothing for Torot, for deep secrets in the Torah. So I imagine it like a big room filled with like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of books, and that's like one story, one story of the Sipurei Maasiyot that goes into our soul and impacts us in ways that, hopefully you will notice, but you might not notice. But to me, every time I think about it and I learn it and I talk about it, I feel like butterflies and how do we say, like emotion, but like joy, and like like, wow, like I feel elevated. I really feel excitement and elevation. And so I'm just reminding that. And then and right, so Rabbi Nachman said the stories to wake us up, right? Stories are sometimes made to put people to sleep, but these stories are made to wake us up and could wake up anyone who is asleep. Anyone who nothing else speaks to them, this will speak to them. And like I said, like the more you learn the story and the more you hear the story and the more you'll understand it in different ways, because divrei Elokim chaim, the words of Hashem is alive, the words of the Torah is alive, and every time we hear it, it gets more, because it's alive, it lives within us differently each time we hear it. And if we think like, oh, but I know the story already, or the more deeper you learn, the more you understand that you don't understand, the depth, and there is more to learn. Like when I learned anatomy and physiology, the more the less I knew, like, oh, okay, here's the bones, here's the muscles, here's the tendons, the more I thought, okay, now I know it all, but the more I learned and the more I knew, the more I saw that I don't know anything. And that's how it is. The more you learn, the more you go into depth, the more you realize that you don't know anything. And we are learning in the story in ways to help us, like life coaching type of thing. And what else? Okay, so we talked about last time. I said I'm going to bring the list of our needs, and I kept forgetting to say it. So I have a list here from Blimi Heller. She's a parenting coach. Took her classes a few times. She's amazing. So our needs, and it's so nice to know our needs. Why did we go into our needs? Because we said, that the chacham, the smart one, if he was honest with himself and his needs, then maybe his intention would have been different, doing things, and he would have obviously become more happy when his intention was different, not in order to receive always, right? Like going back to his place of birth, or learning all the things that he learned, right? So understanding our needs, and our needs sometimes are ugly. They're not so comfortable, like, oh, I want respect, oh, I want to be seen. It's not so comfortable. But when we see that it's a need, then it's more comfortable, because it's a need and it's holy, right? Because a need is also something that first of all, Hashem put in us for our benefit, right? In order for us to grow. And also, he has these needs himself, right? I want respect. Hashem also wants respect. It's actually one of his names, right? Kavod, kulomer kavod. I want to be seen. Hashem wants to be seen, right? And all these things that are needs, are, and also if when we look into our needs, and let's say there is a need that is like so like oh my God, like so embarrassing, like the Baal Shem Tov said, when you look in the depth of the needs, you see like it could be so embarrassing. But then inside that need, if you look deeper and you dig deeper, then you find the nekudat or, the nekudat Mashiach, the nekudat kedusha, the place in the depth is holy. The place in itself is very holy. There is always, if you think that it's not holy, then you didn't look deep enough. So here she has it like in big categories, and then she has it like in small categories. Let me just shut off my WhatsApp because it keeps making sound. Oh, here we are. Okay, so connection is a need. Autonomy is a need. I don't know what autonomy is, but she writes choice, freedom, independence, space, spontaneity, um, play, joy, humor. Play is like and big, and then joy and then humor. I'm gonna ask her if I can send the list to the chat. Peace, honesty, meaning, physical well-being. But there is in each big category, there is a lot of different things. So let's say connection, like there is like, I don't know, like 20 different things written here. So there's like acceptance, affection, appreciation, right? We want to be appreciated, belonging, cooperation, communication, closeness, community, companionship, compassion, consideration, consistency, empathy, conclusion, intimacy, love, mutuality, nurturing, respect. We need respect, self-respect. We need respect from others. We need respect from ourselves. Safety, security, stability, support, to know and be known, to know and be known. Wow. To see and to be seen. Wow. Like, and that could be like a fear, right? A lot of these things we can work out of fear of not getting these things, right? So let's say a person could work out of a place from fear of not being seen, or fear of not being respected, or and they do things from that place of fear, and that and just knowing that is life changing for me. I know that hi Batya, you want to mute yourself because I hear the background noise. Let me see if I know how to do it. Batya. My friend Batya came from Israel now. So excited. I'm gonna meet her hopefully today. I don't know how to do mute. If anyone knows, you can tell me. Oh, host tools maybe. Oh, Batya, you muted yourself. Okay, sorry. So I know, to me, like, I went to this seminar, and what I really walked out with, it was like a few day seminar, and he wrote on a board like everything, like your fears, right? That you work from out of that place of fear. And one of the thing was fear not to be seen. And I didn't know that fear even existed. But then I was like, yeah, oh my God, yeah, I have a fear of not being seen. And that really changed things for me, because first of all, the compassion, right? Like, oh, I want to be seen. That's okay. That's okay. And look, because I want to be seen, I am doing a Zoom, and I'm doing a class of Torah. I'm teaching Torah, So I'm feeding myself that need of being seen, but in the most beautiful way, and out of respect and compassion towards myself, as opposed to, doing things without understanding, like, all of a sudden feeling like I have to impress someone, or, be something I'm not to impress someone, and then when I see that, so I can tell myself, oh, it's like, you want to be seen, that's fine. But do you really want to do this right now? Whatever it is that you want to do to be seen, right? And when you approach that place of such compassion, it's life changing. So that's why I love these needs, right? Because, like we said, at first it could be shaming, like, I want to be seen, like, that's stupid. But then, first of all, it's beautiful, because also the Shekhinah wants to be seen, and also Hashem wants to be, looked for and seen and known. And there is a point, like we said, in the depth always of Kedusha. So there is much more here, things that we need. I'm gonna send it if she allows me to, and if not, um, we'll read the whole thing somehow, but I'm sure she'll let me send it. Um, okay, so moving on. So we were saying now about the needs, right, for our chacham. Like if we were the chacham psychologist, which the chacham is us. And that's what's also so beautiful about the stories of Rabbi Nachman is that, and I don't really know all the stories. I'm dying to know already all the stories, but I'm like, okay, slowly but surely you'll get there. But the what he does with the chacham and the tam in the beginning, you're like, the chacham is the hero. It's like, oh my God, yeah, that's me, or oh my God, yeah, I want to be that chacham. And like the tam is like so not cool. It's like, oh, like I don't want to be the tam. But then it's like a twist where it's like all of a sudden, oh my gosh, the tam is the cool guy. I want to be the tam, and that's the way that we're talking to the chacham and we're talking to ourselves, to help us be more real and give the world our besorah, our Torah, our light, the light that only we could give. Okay, so I'm gonna start. I know I'm gonna try to do it very, very short. The beginning of the story, and then we'll go to where we were up to. So there was two boys. One was considered or called chacham, clever, and the other one tam, simple. And they were called that literally because one of them was super, super smart and like high thinking, and the tam, the simple, very like low thinking, not stupid. He says he wasn't stupid, but he was just like thinking small, thinking low, simple. And they both grew up in the same town. They were friends, and they were from very wealthy families. And one day their parents, their fathers, lost their money, and they became really poor. And they said, okay, go fend for yourself. And the tam, the simple, became a shoemaker, and the smart guy became first went out of town, and he started going around the world. And then he started learning to be like different arts, and then he became like even more smart, and everything that he learned super, super fast. And he was so sharp and successful, and he became a doctor and an artist of gold and diamonds, and very, very rich. And he was so smart and so rich, and he was so sad because he couldn't connect to anyone, because no one was smart enough in his eyes in order for him to speak to him. And meanwhile, the simple, the shoemaker, he was married, and he was so happy. He was very poor. He had to work very, very hard, because even his shoes that he used to make came out like really ugly looking. And even though they came out really ugly looking, he would be so happy with each shoe that he made, and look at it and look and praise his work of art. And he was married, and he would enjoy his food. He would, whatever food that he had, he enjoyed, and whatever drinks he had, he enjoyed, and everything in his life was enjoyable, even though he was working so hard. And then the smart, the clever came back to town. And why did the clever come back to town? So everyone could see who I became. I came from the bottom. Now I'm here. I'm smart. I'm rich. I'm a doctor. I'm an artist. That's the only reason he came back to his town. All his reasoning for doing everything in life was out of fear, right? They both were traumatized. They both had the same trauma of losing their funds, their money, Um, and 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 the chacham is really working out of the place of, trauma. What if people won't need me? What if this? What if that? And that's what makes him keep doing everything in life. And even becoming a doctor, which is helping people, he did it out of a place of wanting to be needed and wanting to be respected and wanting to be seen. And whenever, and he was just miserable all the time. He was miserable. He didn't have anyone to speak to, and no one was enough for him, and nothing was enough for him, because he knows best and he knows so much, and no hotel is going to be beautiful enough for him, and no people are going to be smart enough for him. And look also how he's relying on smarts, and relying on smarts is really hard, because we all have much more than just our brain. We have like our intuition, and we could be a channel also. So if you're just relying on everything that it's gonna be very hard. And also a lot of pressure of doing the right thing and thinking, and but if you're constantly remembering, you could be a channel, and you could get more wisdom. As I'm speaking to you, I'm trusting I am getting more wisdom, not for myself, but from a higher place, in order to either give to you, or whoever is going to hear this, whatever they need to hear. But if I'm just going to trust myself, that I'm going to have to say the right things and whatever, that makes someone, a perfectionist. Like we see the chacham, who is like a perfectionist. Everything has to be perfect, and whatever work of art that he does a little mistake of, either that he could see he's not happy with, or that other people could see he's really not happy with, he's just not happy, because he has only himself to trust. He doesn't trust anyone else and nothing else, only his smarts and only himself. So that's why the pressure is so high, and he's miserable. And he comes back to his town, and his friend comes to greet him, the simple, and he ends up staying in his house, because he is so unhappy with all the hotels, because they're not good enough for me. And then, oh wow, okay, it's longer than I thought. Okay, right, because we got more further along. And then the king sent messengers. He looked in the phone book. He's like, ooh, who's this smart guy? Who's this simple guy? What's these names? I'm curious to meet these guys. Which we said, the king is like Hashem, right? Hashem is dying for our connection, is dying to meet us, is dying to talk to us. And he said, oh, I really want to speak to these guys, to meet these guys. They sound interesting. Let me not scare them. I'll send a simple guy and a smart guy to the smart guy, simple guy to the simple guy, with a note saying, you don't have to, but if you want, you please come to the king. And the simple guy gets the note, and he right away jumps on the wagon, and he goes to the king, and he ends up becoming the Rosh Ha'ir, the governor of the town, and then he climbs higher and higher, and he becomes very smart, because he started, he has like the Yeshuva Dat, the state of mind, how do we say, like grounded, like a grounded state of mind, and he's able to learn more, and he's, he became very, very smart. And the reason also why he did it is in order that when the king, one of his servants who loved him, told him, listen, like the king might call you one day to speak with you, and you need to be like, it's out of respect that you should have like what to converse about. It might be a good idea for you to learn, more things. And so that's what he did. And you see that the beauty here is that everything the Tam is doing is for the king, for Hashem, right? So he's learning and to be, languages, and he's learning different things for Hashem, for the king. And when you do things out of that place, it's just, there's so much joy, it's like, and nothing, and everything is so much more meaningful, and not a waste of time, like you might not give yourself rest, sadly, if you need it, but if you say like, oh, I'm gonna give myself rest now, because that will help me with my avodat Hashem, then, and I know that the rest itself is gonna be, is like learning Torah, because that will enable me to learn Torah, that will enable me to do chesed and to be a better mother and wife and person. So the Tam is doing everything out of that place, and then the king does call him again, and they converse, and the king really likes him, and he makes him like even higher level, and builds him a palace and a chair and a gate, and everything special for him, and he's now on a very, very high level. And before that, before he got to that place, he told the Chacham at some point, in order for you to get to where I am, it's really hard. He said to him, like, why are you so sad and I'm so happy and you have everything and I don't. And he said, the Chacham told the Tam, for me to become like you is only if I lose my mind and I become really sick or I get into an accident or something, but for you to get to me is impossible. And the Tam said, and this is the first time he says, Hashem in this story, he's like, Hashem could make everything happen. He really believes in miracles. And that's why and you see that how it's internal within him, that even when the king called him, he goes right away. He knows, like, okay, my life is changing now and I'm worthy of it. He's not like doubting it. And the Chacham, so the Chacham, when he got the note, let's see. So we were up to there. Okay, so we were up to where the Chacham came to the Chacham, right? The messenger, the Chacham messenger came to the Chacham guy to give him the note from the king. Okay, I'm gonna have to put, let's see. Okay, so until now we were talking about the Tam, and now now let's go back to the smart one. כשקיבל החכם את יגלתו של המלך, אמר לשליח שהביאה, לין פה הלילה, ולמחר נדבר בעניין זה ונתיישב בדעתנו מה לעשות. So when the Chacham got the note, he said, come, sleep here tonight, and tomorrow we'll talk about it, and we'll think what to do. Okay? That night, the Chacham made a big meal for the Chacham, the messenger that brought the note, and in the meal he was showing off his smarts, right? And how he knows, and how he's a big philosopher, and the things that he knows, and he was showing off how smart he is. And in the middle of the conversation, he said, מה זאת? הייתכן שמלך גדול כזה ישלח לקרוא אליו איש שפל ברך כמוני? So he's saying, after he's like, oh, like, yeah, I'm so smart, and I know philosophy, and I'm a doctor, and I'm an artist. And after he shows him how smart he is, then he says, what? Like, me? The king is calling me such a low person, me, like the little person, like the king is calling me to talk to me. Like all of a sudden he's so humble. right? And we get that also, right? When we're like, what? Hashem wants to talk to me? Me? Like, who am I? Right? And that's anava psula. That's wrong. That's a wrong type of using your how do we say anava, humble. It's a wrong type of humble to to be like, what, Hashem needs me? What, who am I? What, I'm just like dirt, I'm just dust, right? וכי מה אני ומי אני שהמלך ישלח לקרוא לי, and who am I that even the king is sending to call to me? הוא שבידו ממשלה כזאת, he, the king who is in charge of everything, הוא המלך הגדול והנורא, he is the big king, that he should call me a simple שפל ונבזה, like all of a sudden he's like dirt, like he's so humble. מי? הלא אין דבר מתיישב על הדעת כלל. ואם תאמר בשבילי חוכמתי עשה כן, כלום אין למלך חכמים גדולים משלו. So he's saying, this doesn't make sense. And if you say that for my smarts, he's calling me to come to him, like what? He doesn't have smart people there that are extremely smart? ואין צריך לומר המלך עצמו שהוא בוודאי חכם גדול מאוד, and I probably don't have to say that the king himself is the smart, is extremely smart. אם כן, מהו הדבר שהמלך מבקש ממני? על מה ולמה שלח לקרוא לי? So if yeah, why is the king asking from me? Why is he sending to call me? Why is he sending me messages all over the world? Why do I all of a sudden get hints like, I love you, you're my daughter, you're the best, you're so awesome? Me? No, that wasn't meant for me. Nah, that was a mistake. Nah, he doesn't need me. By the way, I don't know if you noticed how excited I'm getting when I start reading the stories, when I start reading from the book. Oh my God, I transform. I'm becoming like so excited. Okay. כך היה חכם תמה ומטמיע שעה ארוכה. For the next hour, he was like, what? Me? What? Nah, that doesn't make sense. Me? Nah. לא הספיק החכם השליח להשיבו דבר עד שהוסיף. He couldn't even answer him because he didn't stop talking. שמע מה אני אומר לך. לפי דעתי, נראה מכאן שאין מלך בעולם כלל. So then the Chacham twists the whole story and he says, what I think from here and what from my opinion, there is actually no king in this world. כל העולם כולו טועה. The whole world is how do we say? Is טועה, is wrong. סבורים שיש מלך בעולם. They think there is a king in this world. שטות היא זאת. שטויות. It's not true. התבוננה ותראה, כלום אפשר שכל העולם ימסרו עצמם בידי איש אחד שהוא המלך וישליכו יהבם עליהם. So he said, look and see. Does it make sense to you that the whole world will listen to one king? ודאי שאין מלך בעולם כלל. Of course, there's no king at all. Look how he starts, like, first he's like, oh, I'm so smart, look how smart I am. And then it's like, me? He wants to talk to me? Like, me? I'm a nothing. And then all of a sudden he's smart again, where he's like, I don't think first he says, in my opinion, I don't think there is a king in this world. And then he's like, of course, there is no king in this world, exclamation point. השיב לו החכם השליח, מה אתה סח? הלא איגרת הבאתי לך מאת המלך. So the smart messenger says to him, well, what are you talking about? This note is from the king himself. So then he says to him, האומנם אתה בעצמך קיבלת את האיגרת הזאת מיד המלך? Says, you yourself got it from the hands of the king himself? Like, mamash? From the hands of the king? לא זאת אמרתי. So he answers him, no, I didn't say that. אלא איש אחד מאנשי המלך הוא שמסר לי את האיגרת בשם המלך. One person from the one of the king's servants, he gave me this note. The Chacham says, I told you, there is no king, אין מלך כלל. אמור נא לי, בעיר המלוכה אשר אתה שוכן, שם גדלת ושם שהית כל ימיך, הראית מימיך את המלך? So he said, from where you are, that you live in the royal town, did you ever see the king with your own eyes? And he tells him, no, I didn't see the king with my own eyes. שאין כל אדם זוכה לראות את המלך. המלך אינו מתראה אלא לעתים רחוקות. No, I didn't see him. Not every person is זוכה to see the king. The king only comes and is seen for once in very many years. And what the Chacham, basically, now it's like what Rabbi Nachman is showing us. First of all, in those days when Rabbi Nachman wrote these stories, there wasn't such a thing so much as not so much, I don't even know if there was such a thing, where people didn't believe in a higher power. Not Jewish people as well. Everyone believed in some form of higher power, whether it's the stars and the moon, or or psalim, right? Statues, something. But no one just was how do we say, not non-believers, right? No one was non-believers in a higher power like there is today, like the people where they just don't believe in any higher power, in anything. And anything that they can't see, and they can't trust their own brain that exists. I didn't see him, so he doesn't exist. I'm just trusting what my mind can understand, and not further than that, trusting that there's things that I can't understand as well. And a part of me will understand it. I mean, I will understand it in the future, but as a human, in a human form, I can't understand it. And that's okay. But I could feel it. I can't see it, but I could feel it, right? There's some things, right? Like Hashem, we can't see him, right? We can't see Hashem, which we really, could in a sense, just looking around and, thinking into the depth, but we could feel it. We have to use our other senses and not just rely on our brain, right? That's why when they read these stories, they were like, what is he talking about? Like, they didn't even understand this thing of like, what, like people not believing there is a king, right? What else did I want to say? ואשר אמרתי אל מלך כלל, אמור נא לי. Okay, maybe I'll remember soon. מכאן ראיה, אין מלך כלל, שהרי אפילו אתה שליחו של המלך, לא ראית מימיך את המלך. So even you, the messenger of the king, you didn't see the king. Obviously, there is no king. אם כן, שמא תאמר לי, מי הוא זה שמנהיג את המדינה? So then the smart guy says to him, so who is the governor? Who is leading the country? ודאי אומר לך, ממני תשאל ואני אבאר לך את העניין, באר היטב. בקי אני בעניין הזה. So now he's starting to tell him, I know, I'll tell you. I'll tell you exactly. I know exactly what's going on, and that's like all the um, conspiracy theories of who's running the world. And there is I forgot what they're called, but they have like tattoos. I don't know. And they're like, they run the world in the back of no one knows, but they have like meetings once in a while and they run the world. And all these conspiracy theories or not conspiracy theories that they have today, but it really doesn't matter to us because it's not what we should be focusing on. It's not going to help us all to know exactly what's going on to be happy or serve Hashem better. משוטט הייתי במדינות הרבה. I know. I was in different countries. I was in Italy. And I know a lot of the way things work in different countries. 70 שרים יועצים יש במדינה, והם שמנהיגים את המדינה. There's 70 like kings, like smart people that are running the show behind the scenes, and they change in the royalty, בזה אחר זה, one after the other. השרים והיועצים, אחר שהנהיגו את המדינה זמן מסוים, פורשים מההנהגה ותחתיהם באים 70 שרים אחרים והם שוב מנהיגים את המדינה זמן מסוים וחוזר חלילה. So there's 70 different people that they run the scene and they always keep changing those 70 people, and that's who really runs the show, not the king, and there is no king. כיוון ששמע החכם השליח את דברי מערכו, נכנסו דבריו לליבו, עד שלבסוף הסכים שניהם שאין מלך בעולם כלל. So when the Chacham heard what he said, he agreed. It went into his heart and he agreed. There is no king. Okay, I have more what to say about this, but I don't remember at all, so I think it's our cue to end. I know we're not getting so far along in our book, but it's also everything around the story that we're gaining.